Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm playing some more Total War Warhammer. We're back in action in another online replay. I'm actually playing as the Empire this time. Got things in slow motion because they're going to kick off pretty quick here. You can see this steam tank's already opening up on the foul Beastmen over there in the swamps, I guess. So my build, I've got Boris Todbringer, front line of Flagellants with the Sigmar Sons mixed in. Behind them, you can see from the firing arc, kind of midway in their firing arc towards the end, 4 Free Company Militia. Behind them, we've got 4 regular Spearmen, Light Wizard with the Nets of Amontok, and of course the Steam Tank. For my opponent, he of course has brought, well actually not of course, he's brought a Beastlord. The only other Beastman Lord that can do any healing besides Morghur, as he can carry a potion. Looks like he hasn't brought any other abilities, so just trying to cheap out here, maybe try and keep him alive, but as you can see, the Steam Tank is already opening up on him, getting some good shots in. He's got a Lore of Death Shaman with Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna. We've also got a front line of Gore Herds with shields, looks like 4 of them, 2 Harpies on this flank, make that 3 Harpies. We've got 2 Bestial here in the center, 2 Ungor Raiders currently hidden in the middle, and 4 Ungor Spearmen herd with shields, all 4 of them. Nope, only the ones on the flanks have shields. And then Gorbol in the back, and a Razorgore Chariot to round things out. So we'll kick things off here. I'm going to be a bit aggressive, just using this, obviously letting my opponent come to me to an extent. However, I'm trying to push forward my Flagellants so I can get a decent firing position on top of this hill. That way these Free Company Militia can fire down into this combat, and although they don't have armor piercing, they do have 90 models in the regular settings, so just the volume of fire they can put out is immense, and they will do a lot of damage to low armor targets, which the Beastmen have a plenty of, so definitely a good pick against the Beastmen in my opinion. I also failed to mention I've got these 2 Reichsguard here on this flank. But you can see here the mainline fight's about to kick off. We've got the Sigmar Sons and the Flagellants clashing here with the Gore Herds with shields, and beautiful combat ensuing, many decapitations. You can see here the Boris has gotten tangled up in all these Harpies. He's trying to take out as many as he can. It looks like lots of friendly fire coming in. I'm not sure how many of those missiles are actually hitting Boris in this swarm of Harpies. Spirit Leech going down on Boris, trying to deal as much damage to him as possible, but these Harpies aren't going to be able to stand up to him. You can see a beautiful charge here by the Reichsguard, just absolutely shattered those Gore Herds. Fate of Buna going off on this Reichsguard, but not before they land home. A beautiful rear charge, doing quite a bit of damage to those Gore Herds, and it looks like they will rout them, potentially. Yep. Boris is strayed a bit too far forward. Nets of Amontok going down over here, and the Reichsguard are countercharging, trying to get a hold of this Razorgore Chariot and just lock it down immediately. You can see the Free Company Militia are starting to open up as you see how these start to wrap around the Flagellants. This is why I bring this unbreakable front line with the missiles, gunpowder units especially. It's a trick I learned from John Ton, great Empire player by the way, good guy. But if you soak them in this way, you see how they'll start to wrap around the Flagellants as well as opening up these gaps in the center. And what that does is it allows the Free Company or handgunners to shoot through those gaps and deal quite a bit of damage through the backs of the Flagellants. So pretty good situation for me. We are going to get tied down by these Harpies, but not before they take a spraying of bullets coming in. Same over here, but I was able to bring my spears up in a timely support. Gorbol is wisely chasing after the steam tank, sick of it standing on the flank shooting and terrifying various things, so he will be able to do quite a bit of damage. Not something the steam tank wants to fight head on, so I'm going to try and pull away and just use the steam cannon to deal some damage as I pull away. The Flagellants are mostly gone at this point, so I'm pulling in my spears now to just continue to tie down my enemy's infantry and just just not allow them to advance, keep my missile units safe. Over here, the Beastlord is fairly healthy. Did he pop his potion already? Let's have a look here. I don't recall. I don't think I can get a good look right now. Anyway, you can see Boris is just here in the rear line trying to tie down these Ungor Raiders. This is honestly probably not the best engagement for him. but, you know, I'm just trying to keep them from firing too much. Over here, did get a nice net, and Gorbel is going to be taking some point-blank cannon fire to the face, as well as all these Free Company militia. And although Gorbel does have 100 armor, I mean, with this volume of fire, he'll still take quite a bit of damage. So, Boris getting in here, terrifying lots of my enemy's units, while the Reichsguard just clean up shop, just continuing to be a nuisance, charge around, and just do a ton of damage. This pocket of infantry is doing fairly well, but they're just continuing to be held down and shot in the flanks as possible. Over here, it's a little bit more wild. Fight's broken up a little bit. These spearmen are trying to hold, but it's looking fairly ragged. You can see a beautiful charge there by that Razorgore chariot, doing quite a bit of damage to those spearmen. Boris now has got his sights set on the Beastlord as he tries to come over and support this infantry fight to break up these spearmen. Boris is going to get in here, get a great charge, and this, folks, is why you bring Morghur. The Beastlord, although he has healing, is not immune to psychology, and the potion just isn't going to do a lot against this kind of gooning power. So, as some people think Morghur's boring, you know, maybe that's true. But in my mind, he's the only competitive pick against most factions. You know, the Beastlord, I understand if you're trying to go cheap, but I think it's worth it to pay for Morghur. I mean, you get all those Chaos Spawn summons for free, you get the regeneration, he's got magic resistance, missile resistance. There's a lot to like about Morghur. So, well played to my opponent. Definitely had fun playing that one. It's a good matchup, Empire versus Beastmen. My opponent's build here, I like the idea of bringing a lot of low-tier troops. Generally, you don't need a lot of high-tier infantry against the Empire. You can see he was able to really wreck all the flagellants fairly effectively. I mean, wipe them out completely. But, you know, the Spearmen and the reserve of Free Company were just able to outlast. And the Steam Tank getting some really good work done against the Gorbel and the Beastlord early on. This unit of Reichsguard, too, 123 kills. Man, I used to not use Reichsguard much, but I have learned the ways. They are very, very good heavy cavalry if used appropriately. You can see this one that got hit by the Fate of Buna didn't end up doing a whole lot. 33 kills in that one rear charge, but after that they mostly just got destroyed. 69 on Boris is respectable. For my opponent, fairly well spread across most of the infantry with 109 going to this bestial herd. They probably carved up a whole bunch of flagellants. The Harpies, a little bit of a questionable pick against the Empire just because, I mean, you can see Boris was pretty much able to solo those three groups of Harpies. So probably just better off to bring more infantry or some Centaurs with great weapons, I think, would have been a great pick in this matchup. So let's go take a look at another replay. Let's see here. It is going to be another Beastmen replay. Let's see if I can remember which one it is. There we go. And I am indeed facing up against the Empire, so the same matchup, just roles reversed. You can see I have brought boring old Morghur, I know. But really, guys, he's the only pick against the Empire. I mean, you can win with other lords, but you have a better chance of winning with Morghur, pretty much always. So you can see he's got a Lore of Wild Bray Shaman with him. You guys know I'm a big fan of that lore of magic, as well as a Gorbel, just as some extra damage dealing potential. Same sort of build, 4 Spearmen with 4 Gore Herds with shields, 2 Ungor Raiders for some range support, and I do have 2 Centaurs with great weapons, which are very good against you know, heavy cavalry. They've got 2 Hounds, 2 Poison Warhounds for support, as well as 1 unit for harass. I'm going to put things in slow motion here real quick. This unit of Centaurs with throwing axes, and up against the Empire, because of their, you know, really superior heavy shock cavalry, and their lords tend to be very heavily armored as well and flying. So I really am a big fan of armor-piercing skirmish cav. You guys will pretty much see me always bring at least 1, if not 2. Centaurs with throwing axes, you know, the Marauders who also have throwing axes. The Morglub's Magi Marauders are also a great pick, pretty much a bring in any greenskin build. But just in general, I love the armor-piercing missile cav and just being able to force Empire players off balance and just be able to harass and deal a lot of damage to those high-value targets. So you can see my cav force is kind of deployed here in the woods, ready to strike out in ambush. And then my infantry corps is just here set up with the chariot for support. So we're going to be advancing up across this gap here since my opponent does not have any artillery. For my opponent's build, he does have Boris Todbringer on a Griffin. He's also got an Amber Wizard on a Griffin, so quite a bit of damage dealing potential in the air. This Amber Wizard is carrying, let's see, Flock of Doom and Wissen's Wild Form. Pretty decent. Wissen's Wild Form is a decent spell for self-buffing. That 22% weapon damage on top of the 450 of the Griffin. It's very powerful, as well as the 30 armor helping him to last a little bit longer. So definitely like that pick. It's tough. The Amber Wizard on the Griffin is very powerful, but in terms of using the magic, you guys know I'm very partial to the Light Wizard with the Nets of Amantok. But you used to see this a lot more, and recently I've seen a few more Amber Wizards, but anyway. For the rest of my opponent's build, he's got Free Company Militia 2, looks like, as well as the Sterling's Revenge, 2 Demigryph Knights with Halberds, one being the Royal Altdorf Griffites. Looks like 2 Spears here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 Flagellants, as well as the Tattersouls and the Sigmar Sons. And I believe that's everything, so we're going to kick things off now. And as you guys can see, I'm just rolling these guys up. My opponent casting a Flock of Doom. It's not going to do too much damage to this single unit. Probably not the greatest use of magic, but, you know, it will do a little bit. These guys are going to get in here and chuck some axes at the Amber Wizard. And though the armor piercing isn't necessarily super pertinent against only 50 of the 50 armor of the Amber Wizard, it'll do decent, and, I mean, it's still going to do quite a bit of damage, so I was thinking, oh, is he going to come down and try and goon me? I'm not sure, so we're just going to try and get some range fire in. The Ungor Raiders won't do a whole lot to Boris because of his 85 armor, but they'll do a little if given enough time, certainly. So they're going to come down here and try and goon my Bray Shaman. I'm going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to it. However, this is probably not the best idea. One note to maybe newer players or, you know, just people in general, if you try and use your strong air force in this way, I mean, you see they were able to get the Bray Shaman down to about half health and terrify him off, but because of my superior mobility, I'm able to isolate these guys, and now they have this huge line of Beastmen separating themselves from any reinforcements. And you can see the Amber Wizard's already pretty much gone. Boris is in a bad place. The Gorbel's now here as well, so he really needs to get out of here. The Bray Shaman's comeback from routing is chasing him around, so definitely not a position you want to be in. A little over-aggressive from my opponent there. Probably shouldn't have gone after. I mean, I understand wanting to take out that Shaman early, and it would have been a great pick, but thankfully for me, I was paying attention and was able to get Boris, and you can see with all these fast-moving cav, he is just not able to get away, and he's going to be taking a ton of damage, actually routes, and just look at the burst damage there. Wow, that's awesome. And he actually shatters, so goodbye, Boris. You were a little too aggressive and ultimately paid the price. So we're going to get the Royal Altdorf Griffites now charging into the front line of these Gore herds who are trying to fall back. They're going to set up now and start to fight back, and they will lose pretty handily. But the Royal Altdorf Griffites are going to pull away in the face of all these spears, as well as this heavy, you know, hounds and these Centaurs with great weapons. And now we're going to get the mainline engagement underway proper. Flagellants charging in against Gore herds, similar to the last battle. Definitely a matchup you see frequently, because Flagellants are very good against most low armor troops of the Beastmen. Sigmar Sons are always a good choice as well. And just some beautiful combat going down across the main line here. Can take in the sights for just a moment. You can see a nice devolve going off here, and although the leadership debuff isn't necessarily pertinent, just trying to deal magic damage and get rid of these unbreakable units as quickly as possible. Definitely a good pick for me. Over here we're going to try and get a cavalry engagement underway. You can see these Ungor Spearman herd screening effectively from all these Free Company militia, not allowing them to shoot in on these more high value targets behind. And we're pulling around, just trying to outmaneuver my opponent with my superior mobility, as all these troops pretty much have above 90 move speed, whereas the Demigryph Knights are only 76. So we're going to get this unit a bit isolated over here, and the Cav Goon Squad is going to charge in. But these Demigryph Knights are no slouch, and the Royal Altdorf Griffites getting in on the flank here is going to do quite a bit of morale damage, which all these units are fairly susceptible to. You can see the Demigryph Knights taking damage, but the Centaurs also taking quite a bit of damage, so not ideal. In the main line, things are going a little bit better. We've mostly broken most. Great speech. We've broken most of the Empire forces, just a few flagellants clinging on to life. The Bray Shaman's very healthy still, running around in the back, getting some nice devolves, some various spells going off, trying to get that vigor buff. But here he's pulling away from these handgunners, or the Free Company rather, and just gets absolutely gunned down, so definitely not good for him. He's had enough, and he is out of here. So we're just mostly trying to just tie things up at this point. The balance of power is slightly in my favor, but you can see my opponent's getting really good terror mechanics with the Royal Altdorf Griffites over here, keeping my mobility from really being able to respond effectively. However, he's not able to catch these Centaurs with throwing axes. Screening with the spears is definitely a good idea here, not allowing them to throw their axes at the more high-value targets. So over here you're going to get a little more pitched battle underway, and with the range support, these Ungor Spearmen herd will definitely win. And Ungor Spearmen herd, when they have the Fury, Primal Fury buff active, they're very good low-tier Spearmen. They're very cost-effective. So up here we've got Morghur now bringing in the Chaos Spawn. I was a little bit sloppy with cleaning up those flagellants. I probably could have cleaned up one more with the Chaos Spawn summon, but right now we've got two up here in this mainline fight. And although the Demigryph Knights are holding out valiantly, it's only going to be a matter of time with the Gorbel here, with the Armor-Piercing Cav. These Armor-Piercing Cav are also coming back now. Going to be targeting these Sterlin's Revenge. Just getting a brutal charge here. The Hound's mixing in as well. And the Demigryph Knights attempting to respond, but at this point it's just about over. You can see the chain route has started, and only these Sigmar Sons remain. My opponent admits defeat, and well played to him. Definitely enjoyed that battle. Yeah, like I said, it's a fun matchup. I really enjoy the Beastmen versus Empire. It's very dynamic. Personally, you know, I do like the pick of the Royal Altdorf Griffites because the Beastmen are somewhat susceptible to terror. They don't have too many units which are immune to psychology, so probably a good pick. I probably would have cut this other Demigryph Knight and just substituted Reichsguard or something else. They're just so expensive, and I mean, I'm not 100% sure they paid off. They definitely dealt with the mobile threat, but I think my opponent was maybe expecting Minotaurs. Definitely like the Free Company Militia and the front line being unbreakable. All that's good stuff. Boris being a little aggressive there, you know, was unfortunate for him. Definitely swung the battle a bit early, but you know, he still had I think he still had what it took to potentially come back. Would have been difficult, certainly, but on my side, the Hounds and the Centaurs not doing a great deal, but they did help kill Boris and at least tie down those Demigryphs for a time. The Centaurs with throwing axes did get a rank from dealing damage to the Amber Wizard against Boris Todbringer, and they did deal quite a bit of damage to the Demigryph Knights as well, so great work from them. The Ungor Raiders didn't do a lot, but you know, they are cheap, so anything they can do is great. Fairly decent kills across most of the Gore herds, even though they got fairly well wrecked. Gorbel doing his thing, and Morghur staying healthy like he does. So definitely enjoyed playing that. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that double cast with the Beastmen and the Empire. If you are enjoying the content, subscribe, like the video if you feel so inclined, and we'll see you guys next time.